tlhalosa gore ke mang that's why ke sa batla gore ke mang ke batla wena o ikutlwele hatsho ha se qala ke botsa potso ska re exclusive jomtswa.
Yeah, greetings, good morning to you, Thabo, and the listeners of ekfm. I'm Lucius Mahada. I was here last week. We talking about kingdom politics. In other words, participate kanjani kuma issues that affect our community politically. And yeah, that's what we started talking about last week. Mara today, ngifuna sibheke last corner ukuthi what is it that is happening politically. Sazi ukuthi this year ngoMay futhi siyavota, but beyond ukuvota yini esingayenza thina engashintsha umphakathi wethu. That's basically what I want us to look at. To make it simple, I want you to go with me to the book of Daniel, chapter 1 and 2. In chapter 1, we see that the king appointed young people to be trained. After they were trained, they were brought to the palace, and one of the guys that were brought were from the tribe of Judah. That was Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. And when they were tested, Daniel was found to be 10 times better than all the people that were there who were under this training, which bazoba advisors to the kingdom of Babylon, or to the king Nebuchadnezzar. In chapter 2, the king Ubanepupo, when he had a dream, he forgets the dream. That's what I want you to note. The king forgets what he dreamed. And then he brought all the scholars, the astrologers, the scientists, and every wise man who were in his council, and request them to remind him the dream. And after that, they give him the interpretation of the dream. And all the scholars that were in the palace at that time, they couldn't do it. They told the king, that is impossible what you are requesting. At least if you tell us the dream, then we'll give you the interpretation. And the amazing thing, number 2, that I want you to note, Daniel, who was found to be 10 times than all these wise persons, he was not invited to the palace, which is the current trend that I have noticed. But okay, coming back to that, number 1, I want to talk to you about the forgotten dream. I want you to understand that we live in South Africa where our leaders have forgotten what is the dream. I want to show you where we are. I don't think when Lutuli, Pastor Lutuli, Blackie, and John Dube and other chiefs and the community meet in that church to form ANC, or the party that we call ANC today, what they had in mind was a state capture. I don't think when they gathered together and we fought for this freedom, we were fighting that people they should live a life without restraint, the crime that is affecting our community, unemployment that is affecting our community, all these problems that we have in South Africa. I don't think that is what we fought for and what we stand for. And I want to tell you that I believe, like Nebuchadnezzar, our leaders have forgotten the dream that we had. And they need somebody to remind them what was the dream, what were we fighting for, what was the whole idea of us voting and creating this new South Africa we live in. We need some people to remind us, because we are living in the days where even the people that we vote, our councillors, instead of transforming the community, they enrich themselves. We no longer have businesses. We only have tenderpreneurs. We no longer have people who are interested in transforming our community. The leaders that we vote, they go to parliament, and their idea is their stomach. They want to enrich themselves and their friends. There's no community development. And the reason all these things are happening is because these people has forgotten the dream. So this morning, I want to challenge you. We need you who is out there, who can still remember what is the dream and what is the interpretation of the dream, to rise up from your seat and take your place. In other words, we we no longer, for example, in South Africa, we're no longer supposed to be voting people because they are fighters. We need people who understand administration. We are out of that form of the struggle where we are fighting, just fighting. We no longer want people who wants to burn the clinic, who wants to fight with fire, burning our infrastructures. But we want people who can bring administration, who has management, people who are skilled. So I want to talk to you, the listener who is seated out there, that it is your time, because you are the one who can still remember the dream. You are the one who can still remember what is it that is supposed to be happening in South Africa. You are the one who is seeing the suffering that the people in South Africa are going through. And therefore, you are the right candidate. You are the right person who should stand up and take his place and lead this country. I believe we are living in a days where even God is raising people whom we never thought they are going to be leaders. uNkulunkulu uvusa abantu from amakhoneni, abantu sasingabazi, abantu, the people we thought they were going to lead us, they are no longer going to be the leaders. God is going to use you. Wena uhleli lapho khoneni, wena ungilalelile manje, God is going to use you. All you have to do is to rise up, to stand up and take your place. But I want also to talk to you lapho. Sometimes very in our journey uNkulunkulu masinikeza iphupho, we tend to forget the dream. So I want you to go back to the Lord and allow yourself. This morning I'm here to remind you that you have a dream, you have a purpose. Some of you, they were dreaming to do good things. They were dreaming to be doctors. They were dreaming to start their own businesses. There were many things that you had in mind. But as time goes on and the pressures of life, you were like that seed where Jesus said, that seed when it was sown on this rocky place, and it fell on the road. The one that fell on the road, people trample on it. It was unable to produce what it was supposed to be. So I want to tell you that you can still produce what God wanted you to produce. Some of the seed, it says it fell among the thorns. So it went up, it grew, but it couldn't produce. Maybe the pressures of life, which is what thorns are, the pressures of life. So the pressures, the demands of life, maybe has caused you to give up on your dream. I'm here this morning to remind you that you have a dream. You must rise up and pursue your dream. It is your time. It is your season. Now is the time for you to pursue your dream. I want to tell you this morning, listener, that you are the right person. Arise. Take your place. God is about to use you in this season to restore the dream of South Africa, to restore the dream for your family, to restore the dream for your community. Every time there are great suffering, God has a tendency to pick up people like Moses. He picked him from a basket floating on the waters of Nile. Think when other people were being killed. The reason why all other children has been killed and you are still alive, you are like Moses. God has kept you for this season to bring deliverance in this nation, in your community. The reason when the Israelites were going through suffering under the Midianites, and there was a guy who was hiding himself, Gideon, God picked him up and used him. The reason God has kept you is because he wants to use you in this season. Now is the time for you to arise and take your place. In fact, we are living in the days where I believe God is raising people who bring a change. These are people like Joseph. When there's going to be starvation, I believe some of you, they just need to go back to school and restudy. It doesn't matter. They say it's never too late for you to study. You never grow. So I want to tell you, like Joseph, God is going to use you to change the economy as a South Africa. We know we are going through problems. Petrol increase now and again. We know a company are shedding jobs, but God is going to use people like you to create jobs, to create businesses that will employ thousands of people. God is going to use us in this season. Another thing that I wanted you to note, I said that when they invited all the people, Daniel, who was found to be 10 times better than all these people, he was not there to be found in the palace. And when the king gets angry and say he is going to kill everyone who is counted among the wise person. The Bible says these people went out and also now go and fetch Daniel. So in other words, few people cause they decide to capture the state, but everyone suffers. Few people decide to be corrupt, but everyone suffers. And now, like Daniel, we are also counted among the people who are suffering from the things that we didn't do. But I want to tell you something. When that happened, Daniel rose up and he went to the king and asked for a few days where he will go to prayer and fasting. And the Lord showed him the vision, he showed him the dream, and he gave him even the interpretation. So I want to show you something in this one. The reason they didn't invite you, the reason they don't invite you to their meetings, the reason they avoid you, they always omit you, they always neglect you, is because they know already that you are the solution. So the fact that they don't consider you when they do things is not because you don't have the solution. It's because you have the solution, and they know that if you stand up and do it, you will outshine them. So they avoided, they prevented Daniel from being part of their meeting where the king wanted them to be, because they knew that Daniel was going to bring the solution and he was going to be the most favored. I want you to rise up and know that you are the solution in our country. You are the solution in your community. You are the solution in that school that the pass rate is so low. You've been talking about this thing, saying that if I can go to this school and participate, start maybe extra classes or whatever thing that you've been thinking, that is the dream that I am here to remind you this morning. And I want you to understand that you are the solution in that school. Maybe you've been thinking, some of you have been dreaming to say that maybe I should go for local election and consider starting a political party. I want to tell you that that dream must happen, and it will come through you. You know, all people who become great, they didn't begin great. We begin small so that we can become great. So greatness is seen in that smallness, that those small things that we have, those small dreams will become a big dream. That business you've been dreaming about, I want to tell you this morning, now is the time for you to rise up and start it. The reason they have avoided you, the reason they have not invited you, the reason you are considered the least, you are not the least, you are number one. You know, among the 12 sons of Jacob, Joseph was the hated, but Joseph was the one who fed them for 7 years of starvation. I want to tell you, the reason you've been undermined is because you carry the solution. Because people has a tendency to know the vision even before you know it. They can see it. The Bible says the ways of a young man can be known even at his younger age. So people can see who you are even before you realize who you are. So his brothers recognized that Joseph had a potential to lead them. And in fact, when he shared the vision, I think he didn't understand the meaning of the vision. But when the brother and the father listened to the vision, they could recognize what the vision meant, and that is why they hated him. That is why they avoided him. That is why they sold him. So I don't care wherever you've been sold, wherever you've been rejected. This morning, I'm here to motivate you. I'm here to encourage you that you are the best. You are the solution.